Hey, how's it going? I'm going to tell you guys a story. This story has an adult theme. Um, there was this girl named Tiger. See how this works. So there was this girl named Tiger, and she wasn't a new girl, and she wasn't an old girl. She was in her prime, and she was smart and funny, and she stood out. Um, she really did stand out in the Ville on the hill. And people called her Tiger because she wore a lot of tiger stripes, right? I guess. Um, like this dress I'm drawing. Maybe she wore stuff like this. I remember seeing her a lot though, like most of the time. The reason why she was called Tiger was because she would wear a tiger striped G string like that, right? And that's just the truth behind the matter. Now, she worked the hill, right, in the Ville in Itaewon. And she was smart, funny. She worked a place called the East West Club and the alley right down from the East West Club. Probably most of her customers were young guys from out of town, guys from up north that just made it to Seoul for like one weekend, quarterly or something, right? But I was living in Seoul at the time, and the place where I lived was a hop and a skip and a jump from the place where Tiger worked. Um, Now, I was never a client of Tiger's. Um, I would say that I was more of a regular of the places where she worked, um, is how I would put it. Um, so I got to know her, and that's how I knew that she was smart and funny, and that's how I knew that she wasn't new. Now, I was there a lot in this place, and hanging out with my friends after work, and let's add some more black to this. We need, this doesn't have the, wow, this is the largest size I have right here. Um, so I knew she was smart and I knew she was funny, and wow, this isn't what I wanted, but we're just gonna go with it. That's as thick as this gets. Um, so I was such a regular and lived right in the Ville basically. Um, so much so that I stopped being approached by the girls because they knew that the answer was going to be no. because they knew that I had a girlfriend, a regular girlfriend that they saw me with. And they also knew that I wasn't a John, right? So they didn't approach me. So instead, I would hang out with them and drink with them. And kind of became friendly. They knew where I worked. They knew who I was. And yeah. So I made a lot of friends in this place in Seoul. And I was there for a year. And after my year was up, I got a new duty station, and it was California. And I had been back in the States for, I don't know, for maybe 6 months or something. Oh, yeah, about 6 months. So I've been back in the States for about 6 months. And I was at the PX during lunch one day. I went to the PX because I had to pick something up or something like that. And or maybe I just went to the PX because I think I went to Burger King for lunch, and then I went to the PX to look for CDs to see if there was any new music, right? Or cassette tapes for the car or something. And I found something, like maybe a cassette, or I don't know what I found. But it was, time to get back to work. So I took what I had found, this tape, like, I don't know, a Tears for Fears cassette, and I took it up to the register. I was waiting in line. And the way that the registers are set up at the PX is there's like they're color coded. So like there's two registers that are closest to the door, right? There's, this aisle, there's this aisle, then there's like four that are further away from the door. And these first two aisles are for officers or officers' dependents. And then these four aisles are for enlisted dependents. I forget how they were color coded. These might have been red aisles, and these might have been green aisles or blue aisles. I forget what the color coding was or how it worked. Anyway, the first two aisles are only for officers, because they have, I think they had at this time maybe a red ID card and we had a green ID card, right? So I'm in line in the E aisle waiting to get to the cash register here, to this person at the cash register to buy my Tears for Fears tape, standing in line. And in the officer's aisle, like one person ahead of me, making her purchase, is this woman, and she looks really familiar to me, right? As I said, I'd been back in the States for about 6 months. And she looks real familiar, but I can't quite place her until she finishes her purchase and she turns to the side. And as she's leaving, I'm just getting to my spot to buy my Tears for Fears, and she's walking to the door, and I catch a full frontal look at her, and she looks at me, and our eyes meet, and it's Tiger. What are the odds, you guys? What are the odds? So here's what happened. This is going to blow your mind. Remember how at the very beginning I told you that Tiger was not new and she wasn't old? She was in her prime. She was probably 24, maybe 22. I don't know. She was definitely not a newbie, and she wasn't old, but she was smart and funny, street smart and funny. So in a short amount of time from when I last saw her, she met an officer somehow, some way. And I mean, I knew everywhere she went, every single day. I knew where her haunts were. So somehow, some way, an officer made his way up the alley, up the hill, into the East West Club. And he crossed paths with Tiger. And she reeled him in and she landed him. And the last time I saw her, she was walking out the doors at the PX with an officer's ID card. She was married to a captain. It blew my mind. Um, but yeah, that's the entire story. The entire story has a great happy ending. The happy ending is that Tiger got to leave a life of prostitution behind back in Seoul because of her life and involvement in that lifestyle. The caste system is complicated. She was in one way or another like an orphan. Um, so the best thing for her would be to come to the States. Come here. We used to call it the Big PX in the sky. So yeah, Tiger made it to the Big PX in the sky, and yeah, it's all rainbows and butterflies from here on out for her. So I hope everything worked out for Tiger, and I hope they stayed together. And she had a bunch of kids, and he made Colonel and retired, and it was an even happier happy ending than I knew when I saw her in the PX that day. And that's the entire story. So yeah, that was it. Talked about Tiger. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I'll talk to you guys later.